Hi, Alison Tandri of DIY Salvation here again with instructions on how to do Level 2 of TROM. While this presentation can be listened to without prior knowledge of the subject, you must study and perform the exercises for Level 1 before attempting Level 2 exercises. The mind contains what we call mental masses, which are considered important. Anything considered important has solidity, anything solid is considered to be important. Therefore, to vanish any unwanted mental mass from the mind, it is necessary to rid it of its importance. Many try to force themselves to forget things. This is not how to rid yourself of upsets or mental mass in the mind. Trying to get rid of something while still considering it important is futile, though many of us try. Trying to convince yourself a mental mass is unimportant is again futile, as assigning unimportance to something is itself an assignment of importance. In the previous video, we talked about how to create mental masses around you to replace the ones lost during TROM therapy. We also touched upon the idea that if you evaluate a mental mass against a present-time reality, it will cause a vanishment of that mental mass, but how exactly is it done? The theory is, you evaluate a mental mass against a present-time reality by noting the differences and similarities between the two. We call this time breaking because in doing this, one is viewing the past at the same time as the present and breaking the illusion of time itself. Level 2 accomplishes the time breaking of objects and people. Level 3 works on time breaking events from one's past. Don't worry, the memories will still be there, the upset won't be. The purpose of Level 2 is to find the past and to exercise the being in evaluating the past to the present. To be honest, for many this level will be difficult. There's nothing like Level 2 to separate the men from the boys. Crack this one, and the rest is easy. However, the level must be done, for there's no other way to get a being to be able to time break. The good news is, once you come out the other end, you'll have lost all fear of your own mind. You'll know with absolute certainty that there's nothing it can do to you that you can't handle. You're over the biggest hump. Whenever the going gets rough, make sure to use the Repair of Importances exercise, also known as RI, the one on the earlier presentation that teaches you how to create your own mental masses. You've lived through the original of whatever your mind has to throw up at you, so you can live through the recall of it. The Level 2 TROM commands are as follows. A. Select a non-significant past scene. Masochists can select a significant one. B. Select an object from this scene. C. Find an object in your present time environment, one you can see with your eyes, that is different from the past object. D. How is it different? Repeat C and D until there is no more change. It's permissible to use the same present time object over and over again if you wish. Then, Step E. Find an object in your present time environment, one you can see with your eyes, that is similar to the object in the past scene. Now for Step F. How is it similar? Repeat E and F until there is no more change, then repeat C and D. Continue until both C and D and E and F produce no more change. G. Select a new past object either from the same past scene or a different one. Repeat C and D, then E and F with this new past object until there is no more change. Continue the exercise, using more and more significant past objects, until no more change occurs with any past object you care to select. Now do the exercise with past persons. Select them one at a time and complete the exercise with each person. Continue until no more change occurs with any past person you care to select. As you do this exercise, you'll find that it becomes progressively easier to place the past and present objects side by side for comparison, until you are quite easily able to view both objects simultaneously. You are learning to time break. By the time the exercise has gone null, and by that we mean it produces no more change and you can do the exercise comfortably no matter what object or person you select, you'll be an expert time breaker. Don't rush the exercises, nothing is to be gained by so doing. Once started on a past object or person, you should persist with the object or person until you are 100% comfortable with that person or object before moving on. In the subject of TROM, we have the idea that life is a game, and that there are voluntary games, and then there are compulsive games. The simplest explanation for the difference between the two is that voluntary games are the ones we play by choice and for fun, like hide and seek, chess, sports, and other interactions we have with others. Compulsive games are the ones we are forced into either by our own compulsions or real or imagined necessity. They are the more serious games like arguments and fights we get sucked into, competing for survival, and war. A human being is in a compulsive games condition with his own mind. He tries to forget unpleasant memories and the mind forces them on him. He tries to remember things and he can't. Those are examples of some of the compulsive games we are in with the mind. TROM Level 2 is designed to lessen this compulsive condition between you and your past. The exercise continues to produce changes as long as this compulsive games condition is highly charged. As the compulsive games condition quietens down, so the exercise ceases to produce change. You end up feeling quite different about your past, quite friendly towards it, as well as being a competent timebreaker, and so ready for Level 3. Remember, before starting TROM Level 2 exercises, you will do the repair of importance exercise until it produces no change and you are in present time, prepared to face the past. You will do it in between time-breaking objects and people at the end of a session and when the going gets rough. If your time or energy forces you to end your session before a set of commands is completed, you must make absolute sure you run RI at the end of your session, then be certain to pick up where you left off on the next session. You can run into difficulty with this exercise if you run it past the point of completion. This can produce negative results of its own. If you suspect this has occurred, all you have to do is ask yourself, have I overrun this? And if the symptoms go away on your asking, that's what happened. You then call it a done and move on to the next object or person per the instructions in this presentation. A Level 2 session could run something like this. I select a time from my past where I was playing with dolls in a sandbox with a friend. I perceive the doll from that moment next to an object that's different. In this case, I choose a stapler on my desk. I answer the question to myself, what makes it different? I note the doll is made of cloth and stuffing, and the stapler is made of metal. The doll has a different shape to it. I keep asking myself this question and answering it, noting the differences between that past item and the present item as I view one right next to the other. This makes me feel a bit drowsy. Seeing the exercise is producing a reaction, I continue. The stapler is metal. The doll is not. The stapler is heavier than the doll. And so on. When the drowsiness fades, and I do a few more repetitions of asking myself and answering with no reaction, I move on to comparing it to another object and noting similarities. My son's toy soldier is on the floor in my office. I perceive the doll from that childhood moment next to it. I ask myself, what makes it similar? I note that they are both about the same size. I notice that both have some of the same colors. I continue asking myself the question and answering it to myself. I feel a bit queasy in my stomach, then continue the exercise until the feeling fades. I do a few more question and answer cycles, and I feel a bit sad about this. Now, I don't start going into why I feel sad, I just continue the exercise until the feeling fades. Once it does, I do a few more commands asking myself what makes these two items similar, and seeing that there are no more reactions, I return to noting differences. Noting differences again produces more reactions. My arm shakes a bit. I feel tired again. I keep going until I am comfortable and there are no changes. Then I switch back to noting similarities. When I note similarities, nothing happens. I return to differences and nothing happens. I am now finished with this object and I am ready to do another one. But before I do that, I make sure to run RI until that no longer produces changes. I do get some reactions from our eye, even though I ran it at the beginning of the session to no change. This is because I have, in running this object, reduced some mental mass in my mind and I have to replace it. When I am finished with our eye, I continue to a new object. After running that, I end the session with our eye. I do this exercise each day for several weeks. One day I find that no matter what object from what event I select, nothing happens. So I move on to people on my next session. You will be comparing past people to objects. But if you want to compare them to other people, you can try comparing them to yourself. I have done this to great results. I have also gone to places where I know people will sit still for long periods of time and not disturb me, such as the library. Just make sure you don't make it too obvious that you are looking at them. I want to note that when you compare the objects, compare them as if they are both right next to each other and in the present. Don't make comparisons like, that was 1974 and this is now. No, you are looking at both simultaneously and in this moment. Also, it is best to note differences and similarities that you can perceive with your senses, rather than commenting on how you feel about one object over the other, or other information like, this object belonged to Joe, and the other one belongs to me. Stick with what you perceive now, and you will be successful with this exercise. We get emails from people practicing TROM on how their sessions are going and what they are working on, along with questions. Over and over again, people write us saying that they warm up their level 3 sessions by running some level 2 first. We always tell such people that if they feel the need to do this, they are not finished with level 2, and have no business running level 3 at all. It would seem like common sense to me, but this happens so often that I must comment about it in this video. Do not start level 3 until you are comfortable running any object or person on level 2, get no reactions doing so whatsoever, and find absolutely no more use for the exercise. If you have completed this level, or are just curious as to what lies ahead, we recommend watching the video entitled Time Breaking, The Illusion of Time Explained next. The specific commands and a summary of these instructions are in the video description, and are also in our free ebook TROM 2023. As always, you can write us at tromguides@gmail.com if you have any questions about this or anything else TROM related. You can even write us to share your successes. We are always happy to hear from our viewers and listeners. This has been a presentation of DIY Salvation. Don't just use your mind. Resolve it.